After extra hockey in games 1 and game 2,
what would be in store for game number 3?
Well, how about a little cat scratching down in Sunrise?
Yeah, how about it? We'll break it all down on this Monday night Stanley Cup Final edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hello there, hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm Cam Stewart, a Boston Bruins fan, which made this look all too familiar tonight. Originally from Boston, now living on the third coast.
And I'm Tyler Feldman, a lifelong Penguins fan, born and raised in Pittsburgh, but currently loving life in Austin, Texas. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Cam, 140 penalty minutes in this hockey game. Game 3, 6 different goal scorers for the Florida Panthers. Cam, I'm not sure how the Edmonton Oilers recover after falling 6-1, just getting crushed. Dominant performance for Florida to take a 2-1 series lead.
Yeah, pretty coincidental. We're brought to you by Game Time tonight because I don't know if the Oilers knew what the game time was tonight. I mean, from minute one, I mean, Brad Marchand scores 56 seconds into this game, and it's not like game over there, but they get one early, they get one late in the first period. But from minute one, Edmonton did not have the discipline in this game, Tyler, and they just kept skating a vapor trail to the penalty box, and it really, really hurt them. Florida, 11 power plays in this game. They only scored on 3 of them only, but they get 11 chances with the man advantage for a power play that has been so lethal in this postseason, actually specifically on the road. They were at home in this one, 6-1, complete domination, 2-1 lead in the series. And to your point, it feels like Edmonton is in a bigger hole than 2-1. But let's go through this game. We mentioned it already. Brad Marchand, 56 seconds into the game, net mouth scramble. Stuart Skinner kind of all over the place. They roof one on him, 1-0. Carter Verhaeghe, the late goal, just over 2 minutes left in the first period. It's a power play goal, 2-0 Florida. That was after their 4th power play of the first period to take the 2-0 lead.
Stay out of the penalty box. Stay out of the penalty box.
Feels pretty simple.
Give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance.
8 total penalties in that first period. Corey Perry actually gets on the board again. The oldest player in this series scores yet again. That was on a power play for the Oilers, 1:45 into the second, but Florida had the answer. Sam Reinhart, welcome to the Stanley Cup Final. A minute 20 later, short side high. That's going to become a theme in this one. That was coming off a great turnover, by the way. Sasha Barkov just threw Klingberg like a rag doll in the corner. It was a bad game for Johnny Klingberg. I think he was a -3 in this one after a really solid postseason. Classic Barkov play. Does not get an assist on it, but absolutely should have. Then you get this this breakaway a few minutes later. It could have been a 2-1-0. Tkachuk just kind of curling, just kind of throws it up ahead. Sam Bennett, breakaway, no shot. 4-1 Panthers. And after that, that was the score at the end of 2, by the way. And we have brawls, basically, what you'd call in 2025 brawls, to end the first period and the second period. And Tyler, the third period, I don't think what we watched technically is constituted as a hockey game. All kinds of penalties.
Old-time hockey.
Yeah, it looked like a scene out of Slapshot.
Little really Slapshot action.
This looked like the Broad Street Bullies,
which is exactly, which I think is exactly what Florida wanted. The Oilers fell in to the Panthers' trap down at Sunrise. Ekblad scores to make it 5-1. Then Rodrigues scores another power play goal late. 2 power play goals in the third period. Cam, you mentioned this earlier in the show. The Florida Panthers came in just 1 for 28 on the man advantage on their home ice. They get 3 power play goals on 11 tries, but they only had 1 on their home ice coming into this game the entire postseason. So kudos to the Panthers. The Oilers, they need to stay out of the penalty box. 122 combined penalty minutes in that third period alone, Cam. The Oilers just could not keep up with the physicality. You saw it on that Sam Bennett goal where he had 2 big-time hits.
Yes.
And then Luosterainen picks up the puck, and then Sam Bennett all alone by himself dekes Stuart Skinner to make it 4-1. That was the ultimate hockey play in this game. That's the type of goal that perfectly represents what the Panthers did to the Oilers tonight, because he had the physicality to start the play on one end of the ice, and then you had the beautiful deke on the other end of the ice. Bennett, that's his 4th consecutive game with the goal, which is pretty dang impressive. You add in Carter Verhaeghe, Brad Marchand. Both of them have just been unbelievable. You get Sam Reinhart back on the score sheet. I was wondering, will Reinhart get back into the action? Will Barkov get back into the action? Everyone seemingly for the Panthers came to play the night. The crowd was unbelievable from start to finish. Cam, you have given Florida fans some crap throughout these playoffs.
I'll continue.
They deserve a little bit of an apology, because the noise inside that barn tonight was palpable, and I feel like it really made a difference, especially as the Panthers built momentum throughout the entirety of this hockey game.
It's good atmosphere tonight. Really good. That seems like the benchmark for a Stanley Cup final.
You could be a bigger man. You could take ownership of what you've said.
It's not the building that Edmonton is. I'll say that. But hey, they've got the ultimate right now. They have the series lead, and they just flat out kicked Edmonton's ass in this game, like from start to finish. Like this was no contest. And Sam Bennett, by the way, 14th goal of the playoffs, leads the playoffs in goals. This was his 4th in the series. He and Marchand just neck and neck for the Conn Smythe Trophy. All of a sudden, these 2 pests, man, and they are getting it done for the Panthers, who had 4 multi-point scorers in this game. And Sam Reinhart's one, who I say, welcome back. That he had a good final last year. Obviously scores the game-winning goal in Game 7, but hadn't really gotten into play here in the last few games. Really wasn't hitting his stride. He was one of the 4 multi-point scorers in this game for Florida. The other ones, though, this is the testament to the Panthers. This is what makes them so great. The other 3 multi-point guys, Ito Luosterainen, Carter Verhaeghe, Evan Rodrigues. Like, that is what makes them great. Barkov did a lot of great things tonight that didn't appear on the score sheet. Matthew Tkachuk, still not 100%, but he has not really come to play in this Stanley Cup final. Because if I'm going to say that about Draisaitl last year, I've got to say it about Tkachuk this year, and I'll stick to it. It's these other guys that continue to goat Edmonton into penalties and then make them pay for it. Bennett's leading the way, Marchand's leading the way, but it's these depth pieces that gets them this 6-1 victory and a 2-1 series lead. This looked like the Florida that we saw really every round leading up to the Stanley Cup final, but specifically in that Carolina series, they were toying with Edmonton.
This was an absolute ass whooping.
No ifs, ands, or buts, man. Yeah.
And you see the depth, you see the physicality from Florida. You add in the skill and the talent on this team. 6 different goal scorers. Plus you have Sergei Bobrovsky in net. He makes 32 saves on 33 shots. He made some spectacular stops early in that first period. He stood tall. And for Edmonton, if you can't figure out how to beat Bobrovsky and you're going to fall into that Panthers trap of bringing out bad physicality late because you're down and you're just getting crushed and you're frustrated, the Oilers need to initiate more. We can get into that in the next segment, but the Panthers, they're the entrepreneurs here. They're the ones getting things going, where it's the Oilers who are following suit. And that's why Florida's now up 2-1 after the first 2 games require overtime in Game 1 and then double overtime in Game 2. I kind of maybe thought that something was going to give here in Game 3, where maybe Florida back on home ice, it was going to be a blowout. Maybe this is that one lopsided tilt. I mean, coming in, Adam Henrique said, this is one of those heavyweight tilts. You land a punch there, you land a punch there, you take a punch here. It's back and forth. And we saw that in the first 2 games, but Florida, major knockout punch tonight on their home ice. It was dang impressive what they were able to accomplish. I love seeing Reinhart back on the score sheet. Brad Marchand, your boy. It's incredible at his age. At 37 years old, he is now the oldest player to score in the first 3 games of a Stanley Cup Final. What can't this guy do? He's the ultimate. He's saying that his mother's the kind of lady that you need to put a muzzle on. He's getting away with that kind of lingo in this day and age. It's incredible. Marchand's untouchable. He is untouchable. The ultimate rat. This team has so many different dynamic players, and tonight it was arguably Florida's best game that we've seen so far in these playoffs. Unfortunately for Edmonton, and we'll get to this, it was arguably their worst game in these playoffs.
Yeah. I think from the Panthers side, what you can't argue is the most Panthers game of this playoffs, and the people in South Florida are loving that and loving a 2-1 series lead. But for Edmonton, boy, howdy, back to the drawing board, doesn't really get it started when it comes to this one. They're facing potentially a must-win situation soon, but we've got to break down what went wrong for the Oilers tonight. It started early and it lasted throughout the game. Let's do that next on Locked On NHL Game Night. But first, a word from our sponsor at Indeed. Look, you just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? It's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Okay, when we needed to start Locked On NHL Game Night back at the beginning of April, our bosses at Locked On were like, we need guys and we need them fast. That's how they got myself and Tyler and Eddie and Shukri, and we got to step in right before the postseason. Indeed is that fast. And look, I've been in that spot, right, where you need the right hire and you need it right away. Pressure's on. Every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. You know, we've already talked about slap shots so far on Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm Cam Stewart, Tyler Feldman alongside. And what comes back to me when it comes to slap shot is the first time the Hanson brothers go on the ice. And I believe there was comment from the Charlestown Chiefs bench saying, these guys are a bleeping disgrace. And that's what the Oilers looked like in this game, man.
Seriously.
It was pathetic. It was genuinely pathetic. And I'm sitting here. Look, you guys know by now, I'm a hater, right? I am a hater. And I tweeted it out. I'm like, with the Panthers and the way they play right on that line, right? Sometimes going over the line and how much they've won in the last few seasons. They're frustrating. Like, that's not a team the neutrals should be rooting for. They keep winning. But it's like a slam dunk for the Oilers to be the darling of the neutral fans of this series. And then they went out and they did this. They not only got their butts kicked, but they looked pathetic doing it, not just losing 6-1, but that last period of hockey was barely hockey. Nick Zararis, Locked On Oilers, couldn't believe what he saw, and he has got some advice for Chris Knobloch and the boys before Game 4.
Burn the tape. That's it. Burn the tape. I don't want to talk about this game. Unfortunately, I do have to talk about this game. Nick Zararis of Locked On Oilers here after a brutal 6-1 loss at the hands of Florida Panthers. And if the Oilers play like they did tonight 2 more times, the series is over. The Oilers played their worst game of the playoffs since the Kings series tonight. And look, we have 2 whole more days, Tuesday and Wednesday, to talk about the officiating, the Florida Panthers, the double standards, the Gregory Campbell conspiracy theories, the Colin Campbell conspiracy theories. I like complaining about officials to a degree, but on the night you lose 6-1, you don't really get to complain a whole lot about the officials. The Oilers did not play a good game tonight. They did not create enough offense. They did not do a good enough job of maintaining their discipline. And I understand being mad. I am sick of the Florida Panthers. I am sick of TNT talking about the Florida Panthers as if they're this bastion of hockey quality, that they're the best franchise in the world because they don't get called for all of the infractions they commit because they dare the officials. Call it. We dare you. We're going to take a penalty every other sequence, and we're going to dare you to call it. I'm not going to say that, though, because the Oilers lost 6-1, and they need to play better hockey, and that includes everyone. the goalie gets pulled, the game gets out of hand. It becomes a joke, a farce in the third period. Guys start getting ejected. You get those misconducts, whatever. It's over with. Flush it, burn the tape. You got 2 days off, reset, come back ready to play a much better game number 4. Between now and game number 4, be sure to check out Locked On Oilers wherever you get your podcasts or over on YouTube.
It felt like Nick Zararis was reading from my diary there, right?
Oh,
We all hate the Panthers, but they kicked our ass tonight.
I didn't know you kept a diary. That's awesome, Cam.
Look, it's
showing a
healthy.
lot of growth. It's showing a lot of growth. It's good to write down your thoughts and feelings, Cam.
Of course, of course.
Well, much like Nick saying burn the tape, I wrote down kind of like Donnie Brasco, they've got to forget about it. They've got to forget about it. They just have
or
to.
just do the exact opposite. Is that healthy too?
Possibly that could work as well. Edmonton, major oil leak down in Florida tonight. It was bad. It was leaky, and they tried in the worst ways to plug the leaks with different punches, and it just got ugly. You said what? Pathetic. It just got embarrassing. It was embarrassing. That's what it was for me, because you know what the Oilers are capable of doing out on the ice, and they settled for the lowest point that you could go in a hockey game when you're just not playing well. Well, let's just get physical. Let's just be dumb.
Let's take a pound of flesh when we can.
Let's clock 85 penalty minutes. It's just not smart. And I think the best part, at least from a hockey perspective, neutrality-wise, Rodrigues scores late. Short side. It was Pickard. And short side was a problem for Stuart Skinner tonight. He got pulled after that Aaron Ekblad goal, and he needed to get pulled. Just 18 saves on 23 shots. I'm not pointing all the blame on Stuart Skinner, but you put Pickard in. Pickard is 6-0 when he started in these playoffs. So now the Oilers have this question because everyone was held in check. Draisaitl, McDavid, 0 points. You can't have that. If those two guys are kept in check and credit Florida, and all you're getting is one goal out of Corey Perry. Now, granted, early in the second period when they got that power play goal, I said to myself, okay, here we go. Now the hockey game's starting. Now Edmonton's coming to play. But then quickly, Reinhart and Bennett make it 3-1, 4-1, and you're like, well, Florida's the way better team tonight, and they're taking advantage of all these Edmonton mistakes. Florida's physicality, and I said this before the series, Cam, it is a problem for other teams. We saw that with Tampa Bay especially, and I picked the Lightning to win and did not recognize and appreciate the amount of physical hockey that this Florida Panthers team can execute. Now, Nick was saying how it's, he can't stand TNT, basically salivating over the way in which the Panthers play, and it's the same for you too, but the reality is that's hockey.
Yep.
Either you rise to the occasion and you match that physicality, or you allow a team like the Panthers to totally stomp on anything and everything that you're good at doing. And that's what happened tonight. The Edmonton Oilers, rather than initiating plays and initiating scoring chances, all they did was retaliate to what the Panthers were doing, and that was a recipe for disaster for Edmonton.
And to be fair, when talking about the way the Panthers play, has there been anything in this series that stood out to you of like, oh, that's over the line. Oh, here come the Panthers again. They're playing dirty. Because I haven't seen anything.
No, go back to that Sam Bennett goal. He hit two guys, got the puck loose to Ryan, had it, bounced it up ahead, breakaway goal. Again, I said that in the first segment here tonight. That goal perfectly encapsulates what this Florida Panthers team's about. The physicality leads to the amazing goal.
Yeah.
And that's how you play hockey. Either you match that if you're Edmonton, or you allow the Panthers to do that in game 4, in game 5, and maybe game 6 if you take one of the next 2 games. But really sad from Edmonton tonight.
It's a good way of putting it, man. It was embarrassing.
And here's
for a hockey fan, not just Oilers people.
And here's one more thing, just to keep in mind. This is now the 3rd straight game. All 3 games, the Oilers have been trailing. So they've got to get out to a faster start. They've got to figure out how to contain Florida earlier, because right now, I said Oilers at 6, but after this game, I'm thinking to myself, ooh, can the Oilers even recover from this? This was a butt whooping.
I mean, they're getting crushed mentally.
I mean, think about it. This was Edmonton's worst game. I know they had the 2 6-goal losses to start that series against the LA Kings. They had that 6-goal loss against the Dallas Stars. They pretty much handled Vegas, but this was an ugly one. How do you forget about this, but also learn from this to bring more effort and smarter hockey to game 4? I'm not sure exactly.
And I mean, for as much crap as I have given the Panthers, and like we can relitigate what they've done in the other series, you know, in terms of playing over the line or whatever at a different time, I think they have been very solidly good in this series when it comes to physicality. I think they've been clean. I think they have been playing physical Stanley Cup Final hockey. And what former Bruin Trent Frederick did in this game was disgraceful. Like, I hate to be the guy who like sits on the high horse in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because I think most things should be able to go. But Trent Frederick literally goes on the ice just to goat Sam Bennett. And Sam Bennett doesn't do anything. And he ends up, Frederick cross-checks him so hard, he breaks his stick. And it starts that Donnybrook in the second period. Like, if that's what you're going to do, like you're just going to throw out a hack-a-shack almost when you're down 4-1. Like, that's exactly what the Oilers are complaining about with the Panthers, and a lot of other fan bases too, myself included, that the Panthers do. That was absolute Bush League, and it was Bush League from the Oilers all night. And we will get into what this game 4 means after Tyler's great point coming up.
I just want to say one more thing about why maybe Edmonton had problems. AJ Greer was back in the lineup for Florida.
Sneaky
size,
good. He's been great.
More size than Boquist. And a little bit more energy on that fourth line. And you saw this is the kind of guy that you want in the game, late in the game when your team's up. So
and he loves that stuff.
He does. Again, the depth of Florida, how can Edmonton match that or say, hey, maybe we don't have that kind of depth? What else can we do? Obviously, stay out of the penalty box, play smarter hockey. But outside of that, can we be more aggressive on the forecheck? Can we hustle better on the back check? They've got to figure it out, because tonight was ugly. It was ugly.
It's 2-1 series lead for the Panthers after that blowout victory. Do the Oilers, are they in a must-win Game 4 situation? Let's talk about that next on Locked On NHL Game Night.
But first, there is truly nothing like playoff hockey. The energy, the rivalries, the nonstop action. And with the Stanley Cup Final heating up, there's never been a better time to see it live. And Game Time makes getting inside the arena fast and affordable. Game Time gives you last-minute ticket deals, zone deals for deep discounts, panoramic seat views, and all-in pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ticket prices often drop the closer you get to puck drop, so you can score big without overpaying. Look, here's what I love about using Game Time. First, you can save big time with zone deals. They pick the best seats at the lowest price. Then there's priority mention, which are last-minute deals where you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Plus, I can see my exact seat view before checkout. That gives me total confidence. And Game Time includes fees up front. It backs every order with their ticket coverage guarantee, covering cancellations, job loss, and even offering 24-hour returns. It's honestly a life hack for getting incredible tickets on the fly. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Back here on Locked On NHL Game Night, alongside Tyler Feldman. I'm Kim Stewart. Tyler, Gretzky's on the panel now for TNT, the great one. They're not talking about his broadcasting career, but I think he made a good point in the post.
I'm not sure he deserved that shot.
He's just not good, man. Like,
really?
He was great at hockey, just not at coaching nor the broadcast booth. But he is better than Messier again.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you.
Really?
Yes, I think you need to.
He's the next Barkley out here.
I'm not saying he's the next Barkley. There's only one Charles Barkley. I don't want Wayne Gretzky. I don't need Wayne Gretzky to get to Barkley's level. Part of what makes Barkley great, though, and we can get into this because I love broadcasting, it's the team around him. I think the team around Wayne Gretzky, is it on the level of inside the NBA? No. And that's why inside the NBA is 1 of 1. Okay, let's get back to the game.
Well, see, I'm going to talk about Gretzky's good point. I'm going to talk. Gretzky made a good point in the post game, and it's really simple. It's like, don't overthink this one. It's that kind of point where he just said, look, like Edmonton was retaliating the whole game. And he's like, look, that's just not their game. Like, don't overthink this. Edmonton is a team built on speed, a bit of physicality, but like if you want to slow the game down and make this physical and go to the penalty box, you're going to lose it 10 times out of 10 to the Florida Panthers. There's nobody better at slowing the game down and playing it physical, playing it in a phone booth than the Florida Panthers. And we talked about the Oilers before that Dallas series, how bad their penalty kill was, and it killed them in that first game against Dallas. That PK has gotten better, but you can't give the Panthers 11 power plays in this game. Do you think it's easy, Tyler? This is my ultimate question. Do you think it's easy for Edmonton to flip a switch and just get back to the game that they played in game 1 and game 2 that was so easy on the eyes?
I don't care if it's easy, hard, lukewarm, hard, kind of easy. The Oilers need to figure it out if they want any chance of extending this series. If they want to lift the Stanley Cup, they need to figure it out. Maybe it's not easy, but they've got to flip that switch. It was so bad tonight. It was ungodly.
Brutal.
It was brutal. It was bad hockey. So they have to figure out how to flip the switch. And they need to look at the film and see why Draisaitl. They need to see why Kane. They need to see why Perry. I mean, Perry scored. They need to see why McDavid. What happened? What did the Panthers do outside of those penalties? Well, first, for starters, clean up the penalties. It's got to be a cleaner hockey game.
It has to be.
You can't win a game taking 11 penalties. You only gave up 3 power play goals, but you're not winning a hockey game against a team like Florida when you commit 11 penalties. The other thing is, after that, how do you rework your even strength play, both offensively and defensively, to beat the Panthers? Because that's 2 areas. And then you've got to figure out the goaltending situation, because whether it was Pickard or whether it was Stuart Skinner, the Panthers had a scouting report saying, hey, let's shoot short side.
They figured them out.
Now, I will say that Verhaeghe goal was sick. I mean, it was just a sick goal. It was a great shot, great location, great execution, but it was short side. And then you keep seeing these short side goals, and that was a scouting report situation. It had to have been.
Yeah.
It was a bad look. So now
notes,
if you're Knobloch, it's like, who do you go with the net? The numbers are pretty similar, but this is the first time now we're having this conversation again where you're like, well, Skinner was definitely not at his best. Do you turn to Pickard in game 4?
That's going to be a big time question with 2 full days off in between games 3 and game 4 here. It is really disappointing that this was the game we got tonight after 2 absolute classics.
They can't all be great. They can't all be great.
I guess not. And I'll tell you where Florida really has Edmonton where they want them, not just the physical play. McDavid and Draisaitl have been on the ice for 7 of the Oilers' 9 goals in this series. That's what we talked about all postseason long, Tyler, was how much, obviously Perry is on the ice a lot with them now with the Hyman injury, and he's been crucial throughout the whole postseason, but it was the Evander Kanes and the Kasperi Kapanens and, Hyman when he wasn't playing on that line. And it was a lot of that throughout the postseason. They're not getting that in the final. And now, once again, you're talking about needing to be carried by these 2 stars. Last question as we close the book on game 3. Game 4, Tyler Feldman. Is it a must win for the Edmonton Oilers?
After tonight, I think it is. I'd say they need to win game 4.
They look like a broken team right
because
now.
If they don't, I don't know how you follow up this loss with another loss and then expect to win 3 straight. Now, we saw that last year. I'm not saying it's impossible,
right?
But in my eyes, it's must win. Yes.
Man, it's going to hopefully set up for a dandy of a game 4, and hopefully it doesn't get too crazy like the one we saw tonight. That is the night that was. in the Stanley Cup Final. Panthers taking it 6-1 and taking a 2-1 lead in the series. Guys, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're having fun during this Stanley Cup Final, get involved in the comment section below. Is Game 4 a must-win for Edmonton? What went wrong? What went right in this game? How are you feeling if you're a Panthers fan? How are you feeling if you're an Oilers fan? Let us know in the comment section below. Of course, we're here on YouTube, and you can find us wherever you find your podcasts as well after every Stanley Cup Final game and the nights in between as well. So you'll see us tomorrow. You'll be hearing from all the local experts and the guys like us, myself, Cam Stewart, and Tyler Feldman. We will see you tomorrow on Locked On NHL Game Night.